This game around, we should see it quite a bit, however. There's no Rubik in the game, which is the main reason why you never see Enigmas bother throwing that black hole out. Even if you get it cancelled, who cares? Like, just throw it out. It's a long cooldown. Just try. Boom Esports, they will respond. They'll go for a Timbersaw pickup now. Love the pick. Very aggressive. Loves getting hit by Eidolons. Just more
Yeah.
reactive armor stacks. Great counter towards the Troll and the Spirit Breaker. And overall, very, very aggressive and is able to snowball and fight within 15 minutes. Like, by that 15-minute mark, you group up and you go.
Yeah, definitely. It does give Boom a great frontliner for that early point in game, which should help them out up against what Reality Rift does want to pull off. I will have to say though, you're not going to be as slippery as you expect. I think Shadow Demon's probably a very good here to keep that Timbersaw in place. Even the Enigma with the Malphus can kind of stop you from your escape. So you have to play a little bit cautiously if you're diving in that deep. But otherwise, the wave clear potential is great. The frontlining potential is great. I think it does give Boom that edge in the earlier game. I think if they play around their Static Storm with that Disruptor, their team fight is looking fantastic. Reality Rift, they've always got the Black Hole. But that's not the main focus of the Enigma, even though this should be a better game for it. As you mentioned, no Rubik. But it's still a long cooldown, even if you're going to be playing around it. So the timings for Boom is much shorter and should allow them to play a lot more aggressive.
Well, final pickups now. We do see the Monkey King and Ricky Ban. Ricky Ban, of course, pretty nice by Reality Rift, John. They have a Troll, they have an Enigma. You don't want that smoke screen. That is going to be quite disastrous for Reality Rift. Boom Esports, Timbersaw into Monkey King. I mean, we saw it yesterday, and it did work in favor of the Timber. Only thing was, that was an Ice Timber, right? I mean, the man lives and breathes Timbersaw. Like, it doesn't matter what you pick against him, he's going to make it work. In most matchups, you wouldn't enjoy having that Monkey King. So, there you go. And who is this? I haven't... This hero hasn't come up in... Does this hero exist? Is this a new hero? Who is it?
It pops out every now and again, that Spectre. We haven't seen it for sure, and for good reason, right? It has faded into a bit of an obscure spot for a pretty good reason. It does kind of play a bit slow. This kind of fits weirdly into Boom's draft. Like, this does mean they're going to have to buy space for the Spectre. We have seen Boom play games like that where they take their time. Let me tell you, I don't think they shine as well when they try to play that patience game. I think they shine best when they come online fast, they take out the breathing space for the enemy team, and just take over. When they pull back, try to farm up, like, it sometimes it works, but that's usually when they have their PA, because that doesn't take as much time. The Specker, we're talking about hitting level 20 for the talents. We're talking about getting a Heart and Radiance up. Those are really big items to wait out for. And Reality Rift, they might not have the fastest timings on a Troll Warlord. He doesn't need that many big items, right? Like, he needs maybe a Diffusal SNY or what have you, Diffusal Basher we tend to see as well, or just straight up into something like the Satanic later on. That's something that Reality Rift can consider and just run earlier. So it really comes down to how Boom protects that Spectre. If they invest the resources, it can grow big, but you tend to not have that time.
You gotta admit though, the Spectre, like with this kind of run at you lineup that Boom Esports has, just having the Haunt available could be, quite effective up against RR, right? Like, you don't necessarily need to get in there and actually fight. Just creating that havoc when there's already so much of it is gonna maybe work here for Boom Esports. However, we should talk about Reality Rift's last pick. They go for the OD. We did see this up against an Ice Timbersaw yesterday. Unfortunately, in that game, John, I believe it was 35, 40 minutes. No sanities were dropped. They were saving it for lower bracket, I'm sure. Was it Boom Esports?
I think it was actually Boom that ran the ODS.
It was.
So,
it was Makoto.
Yeah, it was
and he
them.
just never
Yeah, it was
connected.
Makoto.
He literally never used sanities. He used it once in the earlier game and then just never touched it. At one stage, he had 60 stacks of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
arcane
59,
orb.
yeah.
And he had like an added 3,500 mana or whatever.
Yeah.
And just never touched
Yeah.
it. It was like, no, I don't have an R button. It doesn't exist. Whether Reality Rift have the same kind of performance with that OD up against the Timber, completely different story. I doubted it will be that way, but I like the OD pick, is what I'm trying to say.
It melts the Spectre, it melts the Timber Saw. It has a lot of value here. You will always have to watch out for the Static Storm, but every hero has to watch out for that anyway. It's not particular to the OD. I think Alacrity is going to have a good time. Unless you see early rotations from Hyde to shut down that mid lane when the OD is weak, we can see Alacrity get a bit big. This is a hero he plays a lot of as well. Been picked multiple times for RR. It's not something RR is too uncomfy with. So I can see them hitting their timings and playing around that OD quite well.
Well, look, I agree with you on that sentiment. Like, I'd actually love the OD pick into this game, and you know, it hasn't been the greatest hero in this meta, but against these heroes that Boom have picked up, the Timber, the Spectre, everything else for that matter, even the Void Spirit, right? Just having that Astral Imprisonment, just being able to kind of lock him down for a little bit and not allow him to just run around and do whatever he wants. Probably going to be quite nice. But only time will tell. As the game has started, John, and of course, at the start of the game, we have to show some betting odds. Shout out to LootBet, by the way, one of the official sponsors of the BTS Pro Series. Let's have a look at the map 1 winner. And the odds are looking in the favor of Boom Esports, which isn't really quite surprising considering they were in the winner's bracket yesterday.
Definitely. Like, in that sense, they do have a bit of an edge, but historically, RR did win in group stages. So I think there's that to consider as well. Whether or not Boom has learned from their past engagements, there was a lot of time in between the last times they faced off. There is still a lot of potential there for Boom. I think in terms of momentum, they should be feeling better. I mean, they dropped down, sure, but that just lets them kind of reset. RR is, in that sense, on the edge. I mean, both of them are set for elimination, but Boom should be riding a bit higher here. So mentally, they should be feeling much more comfy because they've played a lot more.
And we won't really see any small engagements coming out here from either side. They're just going to allow each other to take 2 bounty runes. Very standard start, and I suppose you could make the argument neither side really has that kind of lineup that really wants to run at you prior to that minute mark. I mean, Boom kind of do with the Tusk, but what we've been seeing a lot is you usually wait for the Tusk to just kind of show up in lane and run a bit of a tri-lane to start with, and that's exactly what's happening. Hyde is already there on the Tusk. You'll have Kezcute there as well to have that follow-up damage with the tag team, and that makes it really easy to just secure a first blood before you TP back to the safe lane as the Disruptor.
For sure. Like, as long as they get their setup right and manage to force RR into a forward position, they can definitely do some damage. The issue is RR is spacing quite nicely. They're playing around the opposite end of that tree line, so Kezcute's not going to be able to get that cast.
Well, RR, you know, they've seen this before. I'm sure they're one of the teams that actually commit to doing this quite a lot. And they should know that Kezcute, who hasn't showed at the bot lane, is up here somewhere, just waiting for his opportunity. But this is going to be a bunch of wasted time here for Kezcute. And this is all time that Dreamercell on the Spectre really isn't having, you know, the greatest time farming, right? He's going to struggle for a while. In fact, they have lost creep equilibrium. It is going to go to the way of RR. And they finally do end up TPing Kezcute down, who will try to regain that equilibrium in lane.
Yeah, they did get the combination off up top. Doesn't really do much. They had a salve. You couldn't really go for kill. Way too close to tier 1. So Boom, not successful with that early commitment, but you're not going to mind too much. You really do need to give Dreamercell that good laning start. Even if it's just basically a Spectre against Enigma, you're always going to be a range creep behind because of the Eidolon.
Of course, looking at that mid lane for a second, Alacrity and Makoto going at it together. Makoto has been really on fire during this Pro Series, and as you can tell, already is very far ahead in terms of CS. Currently sitting at 15-1, which is pretty exceptional when you consider Alacrity sitting at 8-1 on the OD. But it is really based on the fact that the Void Spirit has such a high amount of base damage that Alacrity, the only thing he can really rely on is using that Astral Imprisonment to try and stop him. But you can't do it so often at these earlier levels, so Makoto should still be able to grab the advantage.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the things with the OD now. His laning presence has kind of gotten shafted with how Astral Imprisonment is early on. Like, the range is atrocious. The damage is still decent, but it's just so hard to lane even against a enemy safe laner. You look at how much commitment it takes for Mikado to pop that Resonant Pulse. Not much. He can stand pretty far away. It casts really fast. There's no delay on the damage. Just means that the OD will kind of struggle along very early on.
Oh, top lane, Hyde might be the first blood. Drew is going to slow him down, and Nuts will pick up the kill with the Shadow Poison. Looks like Hyde just got a bit too excited chasing down Nuts on that Shadow Demon and just wasn't able to really secure a kill.
Just overstretching just a touch can cost you, right? Like, the Timbersaw does take until, I'd say, level 4 when you can really pump out the damage with a level in Whirling. That's when the kill potential will skyrocket for Boom, but before then, Hyde is going to have to kind of play alone when trying to apply that harass. He's going to have to cop the hits that FBZ, well, he can tank, but isn't going to be copying, because who hits a Timbersaw in lane?
Nobody, really. You don't want to, it just helps them out. Drew is starting to really suffer on this troll, and I mean, in comparison to Dreamer Cell, who should probably be suffering a little bit more on the Spectre, but he's been having a great old time. 20 last hits, 2 denies on that Spectre, and well, KYXY isn't really able to slow him down too much. He has got 12 denies on the Enigma, but considering how much more Drew's being shut down at the top lane, you're not really going to be upset about this if you are Boom.
Definitely not. Like, Dreamer Cell's just having a fantastic start, and for the most part, he has been left alone this lane. You're not seeing Kezcute really dip in there. He's just going for these pulls, trying to find EXP from these camps. You do see Hustler keeping pace in that sense, trying to disrupt that. But this does favor our Spectre. We talk about the Spectre having a weak lane. It's not showing here because RR is just not investing in trying to be aggressive.
Perhaps RR just waiting for some more levels up on their heroes before they could really start to commit. Like, KYXY probably not really going to be able to do anything without the Black Hole up against that Spectre. I imagine once he does hit that level 6 mark, we'll see an immediate Black Hole come out if they do have another hero rotate. And even with the Spirit Breaker, like Hustler, he's got 1 point in charge, 1 point in the Greater Bash. It doesn't do anything to a Spectre. Like, he's almost level 5 now, and he's already sitting at 1000 HP.
It's you'd expect a bit more presence from the Spirit Breaker going up for the bashes. It does look like RR is just giving KYXY as much EXP as they can, so that he's maintaining laning presence without having to go to the jungle. We do tend to see a lot of it includes just focus on the jungle farm instead. That would literally give Dreamocell a free lane. So they'd rather maintain that presence, even if it just means his contribution is basically range creep denial with demonic conversion. That's all you can really ask for in this kind of match.
We'll see Hyde now starting to rotate on the Tusk. He is at that level 3 point, so does have Snowball Shards and Tag Team available. They could definitely try and go into the OD. Bot lane, Kezcute, he's going to be in big trouble. Hustler does get a charge off, but KYXY was there to set up on the Enigma. And that'll be the second kill coming out for RR. So at least in terms of kill score and that slight net worth lead, they are looking decent.
They really are. You do see Hustler starting to take up the pace here with the charge, although it's a very slow move forward, and he has no backup from Mikado, but might as well make use of that Arcane while he has it.
True. Of course, Makoto has the Astral Step, so there's no chance they're actually going to kill him off anyway. And we'll see Kezcute come in, give him the bottle charges.
Oh, Black
Back
Hole.
down bot. Black Hole coming out. KYXY tried to commit, but it looks like the Spectre is out of there. And, well, you lose Hyde at least. Alacrity with the rotation on the OD. They get a support pickup, but they didn't really get the one they wanted, which was Dreamer Cell.
Yeah, you mentioned waiting for that level 6 to try to get the kill on the Spectre doesn't pay off this time for RR. You're still not going to be upset, Boom ID, right? The Boom Esports, they lose their support Tusk for their Spectre. They're fine. The Spectre shouldn't be having this much of a good time in lane. Shouldn't be living, in fact, with this kind of lineup from RR. But hey, as long as it's working out for Boom, they're not going to ask any questions.
That's the thing, right? Now you've got like 2.5, 3 minutes of no Black Hole. And as well as that, the Sanities was also committed by Alacrity. So you've got about 2 minutes of not having that. And without those skills, I don't actually believe they have the potential to kill Dreamer Cell at all. Unless they rotate 4 heroes down to try and get this kill. There's just no chance. Dreamwhistle is just too tanky. They're going to try. Hustler, he does cancel off the TP. Midnight Pulse will be dropped by KYXY. It means nothing. It's just clearing out that tree line, making sure Dreamwhistle doesn't have anywhere to hide if they do go for a future gank attempt.
It's just giving them a little bit more information. I mean, all that time they commit down bot, they lose their tier 1 up top to a Timbersaw. Like, that should not happen in any case. Like, yeah, level 6 Timbersaw is tanky. Shouldn't be allowed to push this hard, but RR is just not set to deal with this early wave clear, this massive wave FBZ's built up on top.
He's going to find a secondary tower. They need to defend this right now. There's a siege creep available. Mid lane, looks like they are going to find Nuts at least on the Shadow Demon, so Makoto does claim that kill for himself. Goes invis. They are getting charged over Makoto. They're going to know exactly where he's moving. This could be, well, it could be an opportunity for RR, but they're not really going to have any heroes coming up. It looks like they're more than just satisfied to sack that top tier 2 tower. But if they lose that, they lose control over their jungle, basically, and that's going to be quite problematic.
That's a tier 2 at sub 10 minute. That really shouldn't be happening here for RR. They are setting up for the defense, finally realizing that it's whittled away a bit too much, and Boom does have the foresight to pull out. So they're not going to find anything for their trouble.
They might go bot lane. Boom, they TP 2 down. Not quite able to find anybody in. We did see Hyde. He's currently getting charged, but I imagine that is only just to give vision. In fact, there is going to be a rotation here from the OD. Hustler still charging in very slowly but surely. Snowball dodge is very easy for Hyde. Do you turn this? I don't think you do. Alacrity's there. He has the sanities, and you have Black Hole up in about 18 seconds. FBZ, he's going to get Astraled. Alacrity going to try and steal some mana away, and that'll be it. The rotation from RR doesn't really amount to anything.
You could say the same about the time wasted here by Boom. Yeah, they do focus all the resources down. Nothing is lost. I think the big factor here is that Mikado is getting free farm up top. So while everyone is down bot, you've got this Void Spirit who's clearing out that top jungle. He is under wards. RR hasn't been able to punish that. And they are really committing this time to try to find the Spectre now. But it's just not paid. If you want to safely take Dreamwhistle, I'd say expend the smoke. You would like to initiate with Hustler. You can't target the Tusk. Tusk just snowballs, as we saw last time around. You're going to need to jump someone else. And you need better forward vision. Right now, RR's vision's all on their side of the map. Doesn't help when they try to dip into that enemy jungle.
On the brighter side of things, it seems all these gank attempts have made it so Dreamwhistle has fallen behind in net worth. He's currently sitting at 3.5k and he's actually behind the troll. So we did see earlier on Drew was having a very, very rough time up against that Timber. Drew has caught up, and it only makes sense, right? The troll does have a much better time in the jungle than, say, a Spectre. And so you do at least have Dreamwhistle, who's going to be a bit slow to recover on this hero in comparison to Drew on the troll. And perhaps that could be the opening RR's looking for.
For sure. This does mean Boom has to kind of stall the game out for Dreamwhistle. But, you know, he's not completely shut out. I'd say within 300, 400 range of Drew is not too terrible of a spot for his Spectre. It does take a while for his jungling to kick in, and the only thing that does make that a bit bearable is the Spectral Dagger to go through the camps a bit faster if you time it right. That's really going to be it for Boom. The rest of their team has been playing quite nicely together. I think they have been applying the pressure across the map quite nicely. They should maybe look to trying to clear that tier 2 up top. I think if they actually got that objective earlier on, that would have given them a much bigger advantage, a lot more breathing room here. Instead, you do see FBZ having to focus on that bot tier 1. There's just not as much presence for a Timbersaw, right? RR is not going to be feeling threatened when the Timbersaw is just playing around that tier 1 area. If he was dipping between the tier 1, tier 2, that could be a temptation for RR, but so far, really nothing to kind of force that movement out. And this does mean while Boom is farming up, RR is really accelerating. You know, as you mentioned, he's already ahead. He is going to pick up his Diffusal Blade fairly soon, and that will allow him to really start to apply some more pressure in fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he's third in net worth. In fact, make it second. He overtakes his own OD. And This is going to be a concern for Boom, because there is a storm coming very, very soon. Especially once that Diffusal Blade comes up, you probably imagine RR do go for a smoke attempt. You do have the Force Staff now as well on Alacrity, and in fact, the smoke is here upon us as we speak. Nuts and Alacrity, they do rotate down bot. They're trying to bait out with KYXY. Boom not really falling for the bait so far as they've moved to mid. They want that tier 1 tower. And perhaps RR, they may need to just back off and defend the tier 1 and take that team fight. They do have Sanities, they do have Black Hole. Alacrity jumps in, but he gets glimpsed back. He does Astral straight away, however. He will stick around as KYXY now will move in, but there's no real setup to hold anyone down. Hustler did not have the charge available. And Boom should be pretty satisfied with all those rotations coming in. And it looks like they'll just kind of sit back and get back to farming.
They already took that tier 2 up top. So they've already got that control in the jungle, even with that tier 1 standing down mid. RR has bled off a lot of map space here, at least in the top lanes. But the jungle's not going to be all too safe beyond the areas near that mid tier 1. Boom is still going to be very happy even if they don't really find that tier 1 mid. Force the rotations out once more. Dreamocell still has all the space in the world. And they're wasting RR's time quite well.
That they are. Nuts. Gonna get spotted and glimpsed back by Kescute. Though nice disruption to avoid the glimpse, but it will not matter. FBZ will be there. That'll be a very easy kill. Just a support Shadow Demon though. Not too big of a deal.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And still, we only have a less than 1k net worth lead. It has been a little bit up and down for both sides, and RR do take it back their way. Meanwhile, Boom, are they setting up for mid again? It'll be FBZ on the front lines, just trying to get that creep wave there and slowly siege away, but Hustler is going to go for a charge. Again, it won't lead to anything. It's just a threatening kind of presence. And both teams continue to just basically avoid each other.
This does favor Boom a lot more when you're playing the slow game like this. Like, RR does maintain a slight net worth lead. With their kind of draft, they want to be far more ahead. They come online fast. The Spectre is basically not going to be contributing to these fights. RR is trying to play a long game up against a Spec. That just doesn't sound like a great idea. Like, Dreamocell's going to be slowly working towards that Radiant. And once that's up, you can at least press R and have much more presence in these fights. You have the Diffusal up on Drew. This is the moment when he can wreck face without worrying about it.
Well, they're going to smoke up on Boom, and they run straight into Drew. Those Static Storm and Kinetic Field will not lock him in. This is a massive opening now for RR. And they are trying to get in range. Hustler, he was going for a charge. He does cancel it off. But they still have the mid defense to go for. Boom, they haven't backed off yet.
They really
Without
want
that
this objective. They just want control there. Yeah, they just want to be able to take over that jungle. You do see RR trying to do the same thing on the tier 2 bot. They have the Enigma, so that this should theoretically go decently fast as well. But I don't think Boom is actually going to be too upset.
Well, it seems as though RR believe if they take this Radiant jungle away, they'll slow down the Spectre even more. Which is perfectly fine. In fact, never mind that for a moment. Hustler going for a charge. Aether Remnant going to lock in Nuts. Chance will connect on Alacrity, but there's no follow-up to it. And that'll be it. Nobody wants to pull the trigger. The tier 1 mid goes down for Boom, so they're more than happy with that. The tier 2 bot remains standing, and perhaps now they go for a fight as Boom is still moving forward, but they just go ahead and try and take the shrine, or the outpost I should say. And RR, they know it's a bait, they will not go forward for it. And it kind of begs the question, at what point for RR do you think they start going in? In fact, hold that thought, because Nuts is going to get chakrammed up. He does get a disruption, but it is not going to matter. He is almost certainly going to die. It'll be another easy pause fire pickup. More importantly, they even find the dominated creep from KYXY, which is actually, funnily enough, worth more gold than the Shadow Demon was.
Oh yeah. They tried to charge Mikato, but don't really manage to do anything, and it's starting to get pretty bad for RR, I want to say. Like, Drew is at the point where he's strong, but you take a look at the itemization of FBZ on that Timbersaw. He already has the Sanj up, is working straight into a Heaven's Halberd. Then you lose a lot of damage from your Troll and from your OD. Neither one is going for that early BKB queued up. Except, well, Drew is trying to build that first. But even then, you can just basically disarm Alacrity and he does nothing in these fights. So you are losing a window here for RR.
Aether are going to latch onto that OD. They are going to be there to try and defend this bot lane, as there is going to be a charge from Hustler onto Makoto. He will just Astral Step away. And the game of cat and mouse continues between these two. I believe RR are just waiting for the BKB on Drew before they do get going. Maybe even the Aghanim Scepter on Alacrity, but you are playing a very long waiting game. Like, you look at Dreamer's Soul, he has a Sacred Relic up, and although it's not going to be the greatest Radiance timing that we've ever seen, it's still going to have a very, very large effect on this game.
For sure. Like, it's still going to come out around 20, 21, 22 minutes in, and we haven't seen him press Haunt. We haven't even seen the effect the Haunt would have. He's just going to wait until he has that Radiance up before committing it. And then you're going to have Radiance Burn on all of these heroes. You have a missed chance that the Troll has to worry about, that the OD has to worry about now as well. So there's a lot that will happen for Boom.
FBZ going to get charged. We might actually see a fight. Their charge will connect, but Heidi is going to really surround as Makoto kind of jumps into the storm, but it's his own storm anyway. Has anyone died yet? It is going to be Hustler, and now the Black Hole KYXY, he whiffs everything. Dreamer's Soul, he was in the Astral Imprisonment. They do still find the Spectre, but now Nuts goes down on the Shadow Demon. Hyde also to lose his own life. He'll buy back immediately on the Spirit Breaker, but does it mean anything for RR? They keep going. Drew is about to fall on the Troll, and he does. They kind of overextend, and now the glimpse back on KYXY within vision of Kesq. Kinetic Field will hold him in. And it's a very, very messy team fight for both sides, but RR commit basically everything and don't really find what they really want.
They got the Spectre, RR. That's one thing, but they trade so much weight that you'd be hard pressed to say that for a while.
Hustler, he just bought back.
Oh god.
That's a dieback on the Spirit Breaker.
They invest so much in trying to win that fight out. They still lose in the end. They find that Spectre kill. Great. You lost way too much in exchange. I think they've got to really think about how their engagements go. They threw the Black Hole pretty early. They had to throw it out without catching the ideal heroes that do have ways of interrupting that. We mentioned that would be an issue. And the thing for RR is perhaps to wait out for something like a Blink to come out, although not.
Should be dead. Just trying to take the dead lane farm. Understood he was probably going to die. And the thing was as well with that last team fight, they had an opportunity a couple minutes ago when Static Storm was down. They didn't take it, and we assumed it was because they wanted the Aghanim Scepter and BKB respectively on the OD and Troll, but they still fought without those items anyway. Except they waited for Static Storm to come up first, which...
yeah.
You could really kind of make the argument, like, why wouldn't you have done it while the Static Storm was down? Maybe they didn't have the opportunity, maybe they didn't find what they wanted. But I suppose if you didn't, you'd rather just wait for at least the BKB on Drew. In fact, speaking of, he does get jumped. Hustler is going to charge in onto the Timbersaw. But that is not the target you can really afford to try and take down. And FBZ is just going to stand his ground, go after that bot tier 1 tower, and easily take it.
You've got a lot of items coming out now for Boom from that down period as well. RR kind of missing out on that window of opportunity now. You've got the Halberd up on FBZ. Your Troll and your OD aren't going to be as scary, not at least until the BKB start flying out. But even then, he can preemptively cast that, so it's still going to be an issue for either hero on RR side. You've got the Radiance up in Dream Cell. He didn't have that in the last fight, and we thought that we're going to wait on the Haunt until it's up. Well, Haunt's back up, Radiance is up. I think Boom is going to be looking to force the issue out now.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. They definitely could. Dreamersaw won't mind. I mean, he's just freely farming. Drew, he does finally get the BKB up, however. So now, RR, they do smoke up. Now this, I think, is the right way to play it. RR, they're going to start moving in. Makoto may break the smoke. Hustler, can you get a charge off in time? He doesn't see Makoto. Instead, they go on to Hyde, but he snowballs. They do get a courier from Makoto, which is nice. They find Hyde. It's not going to be the real priority target they would have loved to find in that situation, but Hustler's still chasing. If he gets Makoto, it would be huge. They do scan out. They will not really get vision on Makoto, but it looks like they have found, well, Nuts actually getting caught out on the Shadow Demon. He was trying to scout ahead. Now Hustler moves in. Alacrity also there. Hustler, who are you charging? He'll go after the Disruptor first, trying to get rid of that Static Storm, but they ignore him. Now Hustler falling low on the Haunt does come in from the Spectre. They do lose Hustler. Haunt in, Glimpse, Static Storm, all being thrown onto the OD. Alacrity does die. KYXY, he has Black Hole, but he has no help around. He may commit it anyway, and he does with the Midnight Pulse, but Hyde cancels it immediately, and now Nuts, he'll go down as well. It's a dieback on the Shadow Demon. And this is not good news, and Kezcute, he is very, very happy. Ecstatic, to quote him specifically.
It's just Boom finding all the ways to turn that rotation around on RR. You saw that smoke, they killed Hyde off immediately, they kept trying to chase a very slippery Void Spirit in Pato. And they were really trying to make something happen with that BKB. In that entire fight, Drew didn't have the opportunity to even pop it. So he has his BKB they tried to fight with, he doesn't use it, give a lot of kills to the way of Boom, and Boom just managed to go straight to the Roche.
Why not? You know it's a free Roshan. It's a huge win for Boom. They now have that 5k net worth lead to boot. And while this Roshan's going on, RR just can't capitalize in any way. All they can do is farm this triangle area. And Boom, they will just continue to take everything off the map. You look at Makoto, Orchid Yule's up, top of the net worth board. He is followed by Drew, but you saw that last team fight. Unless Drew's teammates can connect everything, it doesn't matter. In fact, Makoto, 8th Remnant onto Drew. They're going to make the chase now. Hustler, unfortunately, the charge doesn't land, and Nether Strike will be cancelled due to the Orchid of Makoto. That's a real shame, because you would have loved to get that kill. They won't have the opportunity. At least they did buy time for Alacrity to finish off that Aghanim Scepter, and he may need it now as Makoto is jumping in with the Yules, with the 8th Remnant. It will all connect, and Makoto does manage to pick up Alacrity. In fact, it's FBZ who does get the kill confirm, and now Nuts, the poor Shadow Demon, always getting caught in these positions, will have to go down. He will die with his brother. These ancient creeps are currently being more threatening than the actual side of RR to Boom. So they dealt a lot of damage to Kezcute there on the Disruptor, but he will survive.
You know, we were talking about what RR had to do. You were asking whether or not they had to wait for that Ags and the BKB. They've had them now. They have the Ag. They have the BKB. They're being killed with those items. RR has to make this investment work. And Drew.
He tried to TP, and I believe Kezcute got the glimpse off, and he did. Now they'll lose the troll. Have they found anyone else? FBZ? He's not chasing anyone. He's just going forward. He wants to go through the mid lane. The rest of the team says, no, we're going through bot. There is still a tier 2 tower outstanding. And unfortunately for Drew, it's been about 6-7 minutes since he's had that BKB. He hasn't used it once. It's still on a 10-second charge.
That always, when you see a hero that farms that BKB as the second priority or even third priority, and they don't use it in a very short time span after they pick it up, you start to question whether or not they should have gone for a farming item, because it does nothing when you're not fighting. And it is a bit of a wasted investment from RR. I would like to see them try to go aggressive again. They are kind of clumping up. Again, you have to make use of this Ags from Alacrity. This is the tendency for a lot of ODs. When they have that Ags, they start playing aggressive. It's just RR don't really have the space to play it. They don't have control on the map. And every single time they try, they always get the heroes they don't want to get. Like, it's either Hyde, which they kill off and Boom just back off, or they jump Mikoto, who just escaped.
Would you agree as well that the initiation just doesn't seem to be there from RR? Because every time they rely on Hustler to get the charge off, it's always avoided. Like either the Void Spirit, you know, goes into his portals, or the Tusk snowballs, or something like that. And it just seems like they never really have the initiation for someone like KYXY to follow up on. They may have their chance now, as Boom have shown themselves. They are going to go after Nuts, and Nuts almost goes down. The Guardian Greaves will save, and now FBZ. He'd be an amazing kill, but the Static Storm will be dropped. BKB's finally popped by the Troll with Drew. Who are you going to hit? Sanity's is there. Nuts. He'll drop. They do lose Hustler as well. And the Spectre Dreamer Soul, that'll be a big one. That was just the Aegis as Alacrity does lose his life, and KYXY, he's also gone. Hyde finally goes down on the Tusk, but it's only support kills here for the side of RR. And FBZ will leave the fight with an ultra kill on the Timbersaw. They just couldn't find anyone to hold down.
RR, if you notice, Drew was standing in the middle there. He BKB'd after being disarmed. So he was in the Static Storm, he got disarmed, he BKB'd after the fact, and he couldn't do anything. First BKB charge, nothing happening for the Troll. They bled a lot there. At the least, for RR, they've still got the Black Hole under Enigma, so if they did want to group up, try to fight again, they're gonna have that tool. But you've got a lot of stuff to worry about from Boom. You've got to catch a lot of heroes in that Black Hole to not be camped out. That's always going to be hard because Hyde is going to be standing back as much as possible. Kezcute's going to be standing back as much as possible. You don't have any way of blocking those spell usages from Boom just yet. KYXY is saving up for the BKB. They don't lose as many objectives as you'd think. You know, they only lose their melee racks down mid, so there is still a lot of room for RR to kind of play around, but they're 16k behind. You take a look at Dreamocell, is working towards that Basher into the Abyssal first, but he wants to fight. He's got his level 20 talent, plus 500 HP. The Spectre is starting to look like a bit of a veritable tank, and every single point of damage you do to that Spectre will bounce back to you.
Not to mention, it makes it even harder for KYXY to get the Black Hole off. Like, he's trying to go for a BKB, but when you've got that Abyssal that's coming out on Dreamocell, I don't know if the BKB is going to matter anymore. In fact, that last team fight, we didn't even see the Black Hole come out. You almost start to wonder, would it be better to just have something like a Blink, just so he could really sneak his way into the team fight and get a big Black Hole that he needs? Because when you don't see it come out, RR are just kind of struggling to actually lock anybody down. And that's the story of every single team fight we've seen so far. They just can't hit anybody because everybody's just too mobile.
Yeah, that's something with KYXY that I'm kind of questioning. He saved up for the Guardian Greaves, you tend to see. I think this is actually a game where you could have stopped at the mech and saved up for your Blink. I think you really just needed that for your team. They just don't have the hardest lockdown here to deal with Mikado, to deal with basically anyone. You know, FBZ is going to be zipping in and out just fine. Mikado, we've seen multiple times. Nothing is keeping him in place. Don't have the tools on RR side except for that Blink Black Hole. So, would have liked to actually see it earlier. At this state of game, though, I mean, he's already partway through the BKB. You might as well go all in and finish it, but you see that. Basher already up in Dreamocell, inching closer towards that Abyssal, so the value of that item pick.
Yeah, that's a real
Really,
concern.
just fading.
Yeah, Basher's on the courier, coming to Dreamocell now. And if you are Boom, like, you'll just happily wait for the full Abyssal. Dreamocell's already the top of the net worth board. He's farming like a madman with that Radiance up and has the Mantra up as well. Not to mention, Roshan will probably be up around the same time you're very close to that Abyssal, if not already having it. So having the Abyssal plus the Aegis into the next team fight for Dreamocell, I don't see how RR could possibly fight into it.
So, they can't. They're gonna need to basically have the biggest Black Hole, like catching literally everyone on Boom for it to really work out, or at least 3 heroes. Get a 3-man Black Hole, then you might be able to find a couple of pickoffs that could work for RR. It's just so much riding on the back of KYXY, and getting a 3-man Black Hole without the Blink, I'd wager is near impossible. You know, you're not going to be allowed to just walk up and get that done, even with BKB. So, RR, their options are severely limited. I'd say, we were talking about the Roche timing. They need to get a ward out on Roche. They can't allow that objective to go for free. They do have ways of playing in that tight area. They've got the Santis clips and the black holders really great there. Instead, they smoke up right now. So
Okay.
they're gonna try to find that pick off anyway.
Well, they might find Hyde. Hyde does get Astraled. Should be a nice easy kill. Does get the snowball off, but his team is rotating in actually. Hyde, he may just be bait right now. So he does go down, but they may not care. In fact, Kezcute, he's gone too far on the Disruptor, but Makoto jumps in, gets a silence off, and now the OD's dead. The Black Hole has only caught the support Disruptor, and that is not going to be enough. They are starting to melt on the side of RR. The buyback's flying out, but doesn't matter. They can't get there in time, or maybe they can. Drew, he's man-fighting everyone by himself, but it really doesn't matter. Sanity's dropped, but he had no stacks. He did no damage.
Oh,
And that's the GG. They've had enough. They have seen enough, and I think we all have. RR, they looked good at the start of the game. It looked like they were finding the farm. It looked like they were finding the momentum, but boom. Just held, just farmed, and had faith in their Spectre to get there. Of course, Makoto was playing like a god on the Void Spirit, as he always does, and FBZ. I mean, what can I say about the man, John? He is a fantastic offlane player.
definitely. Mikoto and FBZ did not die. 11-0, 9-0 on the Void Spirit and Timbersaw. Reality Rift just had so many holds. They committed way too early on their supports. And that's something Boom saw and figured they could really abuse with these core pickups, and they did. So that's something for Reality Rift to consider next time in their draft. I think that's they've got to kind of measure themselves. They can't commit to the sports early on because Boom has a lot of heroes that can slide in and abuse that kind of draft. Otherwise, a very good showing from Boom Esports, 30-9, no deaths on two of their cores. Outstanding gameplay coming out from them.
Yeah, it really was very well done. We will go into the second game lobby very, very soon, and the draft should be starting in about 10 minutes from now. Of course, there will be a timer up on the screen, so don't get upset. You can count down with us. It is MLP Dota and johnxfire. We'll see you all again very, very soon for that second game of this best of 3.